The Karvak warship materialized from the void like a nightmare given form. Its obsidian hull absorbed the feeble light of Centauri Prime, creating a starless patch against the nebula backdrop. Below, evacuation sirens wailed across the colony's sprawling habitation domes. Too late. Green plasma lanced downward, cutting through atmospheric shields like paper. The colony's defensive batteries returned fire, their shots dissipating harmlessly against the alien vessel's barriers. Within minutes, 3,000 years of Centaurian civilization burned. Admiral James Jackson replayed the footage for the fourth time, his weathered hands clenched tight around his desk's edge. The recording ended with a final, silent flash as the Karvak ship vanished, leaving only ruins in its wake. "How many?" he asked. 212 survivors, his aide replied, out of a population of 16,000. Jackson's jaw tightened. "And our outpost on Kepler 186F? Total loss. No survivors." The first human colony to fall to these bastards. Jackson stood, walking to the viewport overlooking Earth's orbital shipyards. Dozens of vessels under construction filled his view, but they'd take months to complete. The Karvak would claim thousands more victims by then. "Get me Captain Reed," he ordered. "Now." The quantum comm crackled to life, projecting the holographic image of a man in his early 40s. Captain Marcus Reed's uniform was wrinkled, dark circles under his eyes suggesting another all-nighter testing the Nemesis's systems. "Admiral?" Reed straightened, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "They hit Kepler, Marcus. No survivors." Reed's expression hardened. "The quantum drive is ready. We've completed the final calibrations." "You're sure it can track them?" "The AI can predict their quantum wake signatures with 92% accuracy. We can follow them through their own corridors." Jackson nodded slowly. "The rest of the ship?" "Crew's trained and ready. We've drilled every scenario imaginable." Reed's fingers drummed against his leg. "Sir, requesting permission to—" "Granted." Jackson cut him off. "Hunt these bastards down, Marcus. Make them regret the day they entered human space." The hologram flickered out. Jackson returned to his desk, pulling up the Nemesis's specifications. A single ship against an enemy that had terrorized the galaxy for months. But sometimes, the one arrow was all you needed, if you knew exactly where to strike. Reed strode onto the Nemesis's bridge, the deck plates humming beneath his boots. The bridge crew snapped to attention. "At ease." He settled into the command chair, checking the status displays. "Engineering. Status?" "Quantum drive spooled and ready, sir," Chief Engineer Patel reported. "The AI is processing the Kepler attack data now." Reed nodded. "Tactical?" "All weapon systems green," Lieutenant Santos answered. "Shield modifications are holding stable at 97%. "Very good." Reed activated the shipwide comm. "All hands. This is the captain. You've all heard about Kepler by now. We're going hunting. Secure for quantum transit in 5 minutes." He killed the comm, turning to his XO. "Status of the stealth systems, Jack?" Commander Jack Torres grinned, the expression tight and predatory. "Like a ghost, sir. They'll never see us coming." "Good." Reed checked the quantum drive readouts. The AI was highlighting probable exit vectors, reconstructing the Karvak's path through subspace. "Plot an intercept course. Let's introduce ourselves." The Nemesis's engines thrummed to life, the experimental vessel accelerating away from Earth's orbital sphere. Reed watched the tactical display as they approached the quantum threshold. "Sir," Santos called out, "long-range sensors detecting possible Karvak energy signature, bearing 347 Mark 12. Distance?" 18 light years. They appear to be holding position near the Rigel colony." Reed's fingers tightened on his armrests. "Plotting quantum corridor intersection. Stand by for transit." The bridge fell silent as the drive spooled up. Reed felt the familiar pre-jump tension settle over the crew. They'd trained for months, but this was different. This was real. "Quantum drive engaged," Patel reported. "Corridor stability at optimal levels." Reed took a deep breath. Take us in. Reality twisted, space folding around the Nemesis as they entered the quantum corridor. The viewport filled with swirling colors as they traversed the higher dimensions. Reed monitored the AI's calculations, watching it track their quarry's quantum wake. Transit complete in 3, 2, 1. The Nemesis erupted back into normal space, sensors immediately scanning for their target. For a moment, nothing. Then Santo's console lit up. Contact! Carvac vessel detected! 7,000 kilometers off our port bow! The alien ship appeared on the main viewport, its dark hull bristling with weapons. It hung motionless, caught in the act of aligning for another quantum jump. They're powering weapons, Santos reported. Shields detecting targeting locks. Reed leaned forward. Broadcast on all frequencies. Let's see if they're in a talking mood. Static filled the bridge speakers, then resolved into a harsh, guttural language. The universal translator struggled for several seconds before producing recognizable words. Leave this space or be destroyed, human vessel. You cannot hope to... This is Captain Marcus Reed of the UES Nemesis, Reed cut in. You attacked our colony, murdered our people. Did you really think we wouldn't find you? A pause. Then... Your species is young, ignorant. You do not understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. Reed nodded to Santos. Weapons free, Lieutenant. Show them what humanity does to raiders and murderers. The Nemesis's main guns opened up, ravening beams of energy slicing through space. The Carvac ship's shield blared, but held. The shields are adapting, Santos reported. Detecting power spike. They're preparing to jump. Reed smiled grimly. Not this time. Engage quantum tether. The experimental device activated, its energy field reaching out to grasp their prey. The Carvac ship's attempted jump fizzled, trapping them in normal space. You cannot escape, Reed broadcast. You cannot hide, and you're about to learn why challenging humanity was the biggest mistake your species ever made. The Carvac vessel turned, bringing its main guns to bear. Reed watched their power readings spike, knowing the real battle was about to begin. One ship against the terror of the galaxy, but sometimes that was all you needed. All hands, Reed commanded. Battle stations. Green fire bloomed across the Nemesis's bow as the Carvac weapons found their mark. Reed gripped his chair as the ship shuddered. Shield status, he barked. Holding at 60%, Santos reported, fingers dancing across his console. Their weapons are incredible, sir. Each hit is more powerful than the last. Reed studied the tactical display. The Carvac ship moved with impossible grace for its size, its dark hull absorbing their return fire. Their own shots seemed to slide off its adaptive shields like water. Engineering. I need more power to the weapons. The quantum drive is already redlining, Patel's voice crackled through the comm. If we push harder, we risk... Another hit rocked the ship. Warning klaxons blared. Shields at 40%, Santos called out. They're targeting our quantum tether emitters. Reed's mind raced. The Carvac ship's movements seemed almost desperate. Each maneuver brought them closer to breaking free of the quantum tether's grip. Sir, Torres spoke up, I'm seeing something odd in their power signature. It's fluctuating. Reed leaned forward, examining the readings. The enemy vessel's energy output was indeed unstable, spiking and dropping in an irregular pattern. Helm, bring us in closer, Reed ordered. I want detailed scans of their hull. Sir, that'll put us well within their optimal weapons range, the helmsman protested. Do it. The Nemesis surged forward, closing the distance. The Carvac ship's guns blazed, but Reed had seen something in those power readings, something that didn't fit with their reputation of technological superiority. Sensors, full spectrum analysis of their hull composition. Data streamed across his display. The outer layer was indeed nearly impenetrable, but underneath? Sir, Santos exclaimed, I'm detecting multiple structural weaknesses. Their hull it's practically held together with patches. Reed's suspicion crystallized. Target their starboard weapon cluster. Full power to forward guns. The Nemesis's main batteries opened up, concentrated fire hammering the designated spot. For several seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then a section of the obsidian hull cracked, revealing corroded metal beneath. Well, well, Reed murmured. Not so invincible after all. Tactical. Adjust targeting parameters. Focus fire on exposed sections. The battle shifted. The Karvak ship's movements became more erratic as the Nemesis exploited its newfound weakness. Where their shots had previously dissipated harmlessly, they now punched through the damaged sections of hull. They're powering up something big, Torres warned. Energy readings off the scale. Evasive maneuvers, Reed ordered. All power to... The space between the ships distorted as the Karvak vessel unleashed its weapon. A wave of quantum distortion washed over the Nemesis, making reality itself seem to wobble. Warning indicators flashed red across every console. The quantum tether flickered, its grip weakening. Tether failing, Santos reported. We're losing them. Reed jabbed his comm. Engineering, emergency power to the tether. Don't let them escape. The quantum drive can't take much more, Patel warned. We're pushing way past safety limits. Reed watched the tactical display, noting how the Karvak ship listed slightly to port after firing its weapon. Another sign of underlying weakness. Helm, plot collision course. Sir? The helmsman's voice cracked. You heard me. Take us right down their throat. The Nemesis surged forward, closing the final distance. The Karvak vessel's guns blazed desperately, but Reed had seen through their facade of invulnerability. All hands, brace for impact! The ships collided, with a thunderous crash of metal on metal. The Nemesis's reinforced bow crumpled the weakened sections of the Karvak hull, tearing deep into their superstructure. Multiple hull breaches detected on their vessel, Santos reported, a note of satisfaction in his voice. Their power core is destabilizing. Launch boarding parties, Reed ordered, unstrapping from his chair. I want that ship secured before they can scuttle it. Commander Torres, you have the bridge. Torres nodded, understanding in his eyes. Be careful, sir. We don't know what we'll find over there. Reed checked his sidearm, joining the Marine squad assembling in the airlock. The Karvak had terrorized the galaxy for months. Now it's time to see what they were really made of. The interior of the Karvak ship was a study in contrasts. Sections of advanced technology sat alongside jury-rigged repairs and makeshift patches. Emergency lighting cast everything in a sickly green glow. Clear, a Marine called out, checking another junction. Reed advanced carefully, noting the signs of battle damage that had never been properly repaired. Some of the scars looked years old. Captain, the squad leader spoke up. We're detecting life signs ahead. Multiple signatures, concentrated in what appears to be their bridge. Any resistance? Negative, sir. No movement detected. They proceeded down a corridor where exposed conduits sparked and hissed. The deck plates were worn, showing signs of repeated repairs. This wasn't the ship of a superior species at the height of their power. This was a vessel running on borrowed time. The bridge entrance was sealed, but their breaching charges made short work of it. They burst through to find... Reed lowered his weapon slowly, taking in the scene. The Karvak bridge crew stood with their arms raised in surrender. Their environmental suits were patched and worn, showing signs of long-term stress. One of them stepped forward, removing its helmet to reveal features that seemed almost avian. Its movements were stiff, favoring one side. You have won, human, it spoke through a translator device. We surrender. Reed studied the alien carefully. Up close, the fierce reputation of the Karvak seemed at odds with their actual appearance. Their captain looked exhausted. Why attack our colonies? Reed demanded. Why murder innocent civilians? The Karvak captain's facial feathers rippled, a sign of distress. Reed guessed. We had no choice. We needed the resources, the supplies. There are other ways to obtain supplies than wholesale slaughter. Not when you are running, the alien's translator crackled. Not when they are hunting you. Reed frowned. Who's hunting you? Before the Karvak captain could answer, alarms blared throughout both ships. Reed's comm crackled to life. Captain! Torres's voice was urgent. Long-range sensors just lit up. Multiple quantum signatures detected. Unlike anything we've seen before. They're heading straight for us. The Karvak captain's feathers lay flat against its skull. They have found us. The Void Heralds come. Reed looked around the bridge, seeing the same fear reflected in every alien face. Whatever was approaching, it terrified a species that had brought terror to the galaxy. Tell me everything, he ordered the Karvak captain, starting with what exactly these Void Heralds are, and why they're hunting you. The alien's translator hesitated for a moment before responding. They are death, human. Death that comes from between the stars, and now that you have interfered, they will hunt you too. Warning klaxons continued to sound as Reed processed this information. The hunters had become the hunted, and now humanity had been drawn into a conflict far bigger than a simple case of colonial raiders. How long until they reach us? He asked into his comm. 20 minutes at current speed, Torres replied. Sir, their energy signatures are off the charts. It makes the Karvak ships look like toys in comparison. Reed turned back to the alien captain. You have 10 minutes to convince me why we shouldn't leave you here to face whatever's coming. Start talking. The Karvak's translator crackled as it began to speak, telling a story of horror and desperation that would change everything Reed thought he knew about the galaxy. The real war, it seemed, was just beginning. 15 minutes until contact, Torres reported through the comm. Reed watched the Karvak navigator's claws dance across the stolen ship's console, bringing up a holographic display of their home system. The image showed a thriving civilization, orbital rings, planetary cities, vast shipyards. Then the recording's timestamp advanced. Dark shapes appeared at the system's edge. The Void Heralds arrived without warning, the navigator's translator crackled. Our long-range sensors detected nothing. They simply were. The hologram showed massive vessels, their hulls geometric impossibilities that hurt Reed's eyes. They moved with impossible precision, ignoring the defensive fire from the Karvak fleet. We lasted 6 hours, the Karvak captain added. His feathers lay flat against his skull. 6 hours against an enemy that barely seemed to notice our attacks. They harvested our world for resources, stripped our ships for materials. Those they didn't take, they simply erased. The recording showed entire planets going dark, their surfaces cratered by weapons that seemed to devour reality itself. How many survived? Reed asked. Less than a tenth of our population escaped. 12 ships, originally. The captain's translator hitched. Now we are 4. Torres's voice cut in again. Sir, 10 minutes to contact. The quantum signatures are... they're impossible. Space itself is warping around them. Reed studied the hologram, watching the Void Heralds methodically destroy a civilization. The Karvak's desperate raids suddenly made horrific sense. They weren't conquerors, but refugees trying to stay ahead of extinction. Your ship. Reed turned to the captain. Show me what they did to it. The alien manipulated the controls, bringing up damaged schematics. The vessel's core structure was riddled with marks that matched nothing in human engineering databases. A glancing hit, the captain explained. Their weapons ignore shields, armor, everything. They consume energy itself.
Each shot damages not just matter, but the underlying fabric of space-time.
5 minutes, Torres warned. Sir, we need a decision. Reed's mind raced. The Karvak ship was crippled. The Nemesis was damaged. Running was an option, but he activated his comm. Engineering. Status of the quantum drive. Stable, but strained, Patel replied. We can probably manage 2, maybe 3 more jumps before we need a complete rebuild. The AI targeting system? Fully operational, but sir, if these readings are accurate, we've never tracked anything like what's coming. Reed turned back to the Karvak captain. Your weapons, the ones that adapted to our shields, how do they work?
Quantum frequency matching. We scan enemy defenses and adjust our attack patterns to...
The alien's feathers suddenly lifted.
You think we could...
Match their own quantum signatures back at them? Reed nodded. With your weapons and our AI's predictive capabilities? 3 minutes. Torres cut in. First visual contact. By all that's holy. The main screen showed them. 3 vessels that seemed to bend reality around themselves. Their hulls geometric patterns that shouldn't exist in 3-dimensional space. Reed hit his comm. All hands. This is the captain. Emergency merger protocols are now in effect. We're taking on Karvak crew and combining our systems. Anyone who has a problem working with aliens can submit their complaints after we survive. The next 2 minutes were organized chaos. Karvak engineers interfaced their weapons with the Nemesis's AI, while damage control teams welded hull plates together, creating jury-rigged connections between the vessels. 1 minute, Torres reported, his voice steady. They're launching something. Thousands of small objects, moving in patterns.
Void drones,
the Karvak captain's translator spoke.
They'll strip our hulls bare, render our technology down to component atoms.
Not today. Reed watched the system integration numbers climb. Status of weapons merge. Partial interface achieved, Patel reported. We can fire their guns, but power distribution is unstable. It'll have to do. Reed squared his shoulders. All hands, prepare for combat. Let's show these heralds what happens when humanity and the Karvak work together. The Void Heralds entered firing range, reality distorting around their impossible forms. Reed gave the order, and 2 civilizations worth of technology and determination opened fire as one. The first wave of Void drones shattered against the combined shields of the merged vessels. Their destruction sent ripples through local space-time, distorting sensor readings. Second wave! Incoming! Santos called out. They're adapting their attack patterns! Reed watched the tactical display as thousands more drones emerged from the Herald ships. The mechanical swarm moved with perfect coordination, probing for weaknesses. Karvak weapons at 70% sync, Patel reported from engineering. The AI is learning their frequency patterns, but power distribution remains unstable. The merged ships shuddered as the second drone wave hit. This time, some got through. Warning indicators flashed as sections of hull began to dissolve. Breach in sections 12 through 15, Torres reported. Emergency force fields holding, but the drones are eating through faster than we can repair. The alien's feathers rippled with sudden understanding.
Yes. Their quantum signatures must maintain coherence. If we could disrupt...
Engineering! Reed hit his comm. Reroute power from the quantum drive. Feed it through the Karvak weapons. All of it. Sir, that'll burn out the drive completely, Patel protested. We'll be stranded. Better stranded than dead. Do it. Power surged through the merged systems. The Karvak weapons pulsed with new energy, their quantum matching capabilities amplified by the drive's output. Herald ships launching primary weapons, Santos warned. Impact in 10 seconds. Target their firing solutions, Reed ordered. Match frequencies and fire everything we've got. Reality seemed to bend as the Herald weapons discharged, beams of pure void that consumed everything they touched. But this time, The merged ships were ready. Combined human Karvak technology reached out, matching the Herald's quantum signatures perfectly. When the void beams met their counterfire, space itself screamed.
Direct hits, Santos reported. Their weapons, they're being reflected back.
The nearest Herald ship's impossible geometry flickered as its own attack consumed sections of its hull. The other two vessels immediately adjusted, their forms shifting to compensate.
They're adapting, the Karvak captain warned. Our advantage won't last.
Reed studied the tactical display, noting how the Herald ships moved. There was something about their formations. The AIs found a pattern, he realized. They're maintaining quantum symmetry between their vessels. Break that symmetry,
and their dimensional stability fails, the Karvak captain finished. But we lack the firepower to...
We don't need firepower. Reed hit his comm again. Engineering. The quantum drive's prediction matrices. Can we use them to calculate where they'll be? Already on it, Patel answered. The AI's running numbers now, but sir, we'll only get one shot before the drive burns out completely. The merged ships rocked as another Herald attack hit home. Hull breaches spread across multiple decks as void energy ate through their defenses.
Shields failing, Santos called out. We can't take another hit like that.
Reed watched the Herald ships maneuver, their movements perfectly synchronized. The AI's predictions scrolled across his display, probability curves and quantum calculations beyond human comprehension. Then he saw it. The pattern. The flaw. All power to forward guns, he ordered. Plot firing solutions to these coordinates. His fingers flew across the console, marking 3 points in space.
Sir?
Santos frowned.
Those points are empty.
Not for long. Reed turned to the Karvak captain. Your people developed quantum matching weapons to survive. We developed something else. The ability to predict exactly where our enemies will be. Understanding dawned in the aliens' eyes.
A temporal attack?
Herald ships, launching final attack wave, Torres reported. This is it. On my mark. Reed watched the tactical display, waiting for the perfect moment. Engineering, dump everything we have into the weapons. Shields, life support, everything. The Herald vessels moved in perfect formation, their void beams charging for a killing blow. The AI's predictions reached 100% certainty. Fire! Combined human Karvak weapons discharged, their shots seeming to pass harmlessly through empty space. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Herald ships arrived exactly where the AI predicted, intersecting with their own quantum signatures. Their impossible geometries collapsed, reality itself rebelling against the paradox.
Direct hits, Santos exclaimed. Their dimensional matrices are failing.
The Herald ships twisted in on themselves, their forms breaking down as multiple quantum states tried to occupy the same space-time. Void energy consumed their own hulls as their weapons misfired. Get us out of here, Reed ordered. Emergency thrusters, any heading. The merged ships limped away as the Heralds destroyed themselves, their quantum signatures cascading into chaos. Space itself seemed to shudder as they vanished, leaving behind only distorted echoes in the sensor readings. Silence fell over the bridge. Emergency lights cast shadows across human and Karvak faces alike as damage reports streamed in. Did we? Torres cleared his throat. Did we just kill them?
No, the Karvak captain's translator crackled. Merely banished them, forced them back to whatever dimension spawned them. They will return.
Reed nodded slowly. Then we'll be ready. Together.
Engineering reports the quantum drive is completely burned out, Santos said. We're not going anywhere under our own power.
Signal the other Karvak ships, Reed ordered. Tell them it's safe to return. We'll need their help to get home. The next few hours were a blur of damage control and emergency repairs. Human and Karvak crews worked side by side, their previous hostilities forgotten in the wake of survival. Reed stood on his ruined bridge, watching the remaining Karvak vessels approach. The tactical display showed empty space where the Heralds had been, reality still struggling to heal. The quantum drive. He turned to the Carvac captain. Your people can help us rebuild it?
Better.
The alien's feathers lifted in what Reed now recognized as enthusiasm.
Together, we can improve it. Your AI's predictive capabilities combined with our quantum matching technology.
A defense against their return. Reed understood. A real chance to fight back.
More than that.
The Carvac gestured to where their crews worked together.
A chance to unite. To prepare. When the Heralds return, they won't find scattered civilizations to devour.
They'll find humanity and the Carvac standing as one, Reed finished, along with any other species willing to join us. Torres approached, holding a datapad. Sir, Admiral Jackson is requesting a full report. What should I tell him? Tell him, Reed smiled. Tell him to clear the shipyards. We're going to need a lot more ships like the Nemesis. The Carvac captain's translator clicked.
The Heralds name themselves for Death and Void. What shall we name our alliance?
Reed considered the merged ships, human and alien technology working in perfect harmony. We'll call it Project Dawn, because together we're going to bring light to their darkness. Emergency repair crews continued their work as the remaining Carvac ships took up escort positions. The ruined quantum drive hummed beneath their feet, not dead, but waiting to be reborn as something new. One ship had set out to end a threat to humanity. Instead, it had forged an alliance that would change the galaxy forever. The real war still lay ahead, but for the first time, they had a chance to win it. The Nemesis had lived up to its name, not as an agent of vengeance, but as the herald of something far more powerful. Unity in the face of extinction. Reed gave the orders to begin their long journey home. They had a lot of work to do, and not much time to do it in.